Pops here. I wanted to cover something that I got asked a little bit more about, and that was the video I did last week about reps and sets and frequency, and a little bit more about what I mean specifically when speaking of going to failure. And this is really the difference between lifting pretty versus lifting ugly, I guess. And what it comes down to is this. In powerlifting, a lot of times, it's not about perfect form all the time or whatever. It's really about just getting the weight from point A to point B. And sometimes it can be as ugly as it needs to be. It really doesn't matter as long as you hit the parameters, so to speak. Whereas in bodybuilding, it's really more about technique, about your form. And specifically, if you're lifting with good form, then really failure is once you hit that level of weight and number of reps that you can no longer maintain good form. That's it. It's not something that's massively, potentially injurious. People are thinking, oh my God, he's talking about just going flat out balls to the walls crazy. And okay, no. But this is part of why I talk about lifting angry, because so many times you can still maintain really good form and lift a little bit more weight and or even get one more rep than most people think they can and still maintaining good form. That's one of the big keys, is most people just don't put enough mental intensity into their lifting. Hi, baby. Everybody say hi, Tour Dog. Hi, Tour Dog. Anyhow, so that's really it. It's a matter of the difference between lifting ugly and lifting heavy. If you got to start lifting ugly to get one more rep, well, you've just gone beyond failure in a general basic sense. Now, do I recommend going beyond failure? Yes, particularly for more advanced lifters, and particularly once you start hitting that point where gains aren't coming quite as easily as they would be for a beginner lifter just doing simple basic compound moves. Well, yeah, doing things such as drop sets and negatives, partials. I'm not real partial on the partials, but partials do have some benefit too. It's minor, in my opinion, particularly when you compare them to something such as a drop set or negatives. That being said, failure is not necessarily something that specifically is going to injure you. You're not going to get specifically injured if you're lifting to failure, but just recognizing that it's the difference between being able to maintain perfect form and not. That's it. There's nothing secret about it, nothing scary about it, and there's nothing that's inherently dangerous about it in terms of you're going to suffer injuries or potentially suffer injuries every time you lift like that. It doesn't work that way. Now, if you start pushing beyond, you want to be a power lifter and you start doing a lot of singles and stuff, are you going to run a potential risk of injury? Well, you could, but even doing singles, it's when I do singles, I do a fairly light warm-up just to get the body moving a little bit, and then slowly start stacking on dimes or nickel plates, depending on a couple of different dynamics. And I only do 1 rep max on a couple of different movements: deadlift, dumbbell press, bench press. I don't even do 1 rep max on squats anymore. So, oh, and I do them on overhead press as well. I get some volume in and get the muscles more warm by slowly stacking the plates and just do 1 rep. Bam, bam, bam. And once you get to that point where it's hard, still lift a little angry, but don't put yourself into this massive mental state of do or die. That, at that level, I don't recommend. Doing more of a do or die at lower reps or lower weight, higher reps is far more beneficial because you're at less risk of injury by looking for just 1 more rep on something that you've already pushed several reps. The muscle's already so fatigued at that point that the chances of you actually getting injured is fairly slim. Not to say that it can't happen, because it can, but it's kind of like the old saying, he isn't strong enough to hurt himself. Well, once the muscles are fatigued, the chances of you hurting yourself, because you just can't push the weight, no matter how much you put into the mental aspect, the muscles won't do it. So you end up you just sit there and hold it practically. You're doing isometric at that point. So there it is. Failure isn't something that is specifically injurious. Failure is something that is, like I said in the beginning, no more than the difference between lifting pretty and lifting ugly. So, like, share, and subscribe. And if you disagree with any of this, leave me a comment. If you agree, leave me a comment. Try some of this stuff and leave me a comment, see what you think. Anyway, thanks guys. See you later.